Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hello. Okay, this is a little bit about work history. When you're providing your work history report, generally, it would be the initial stage of an application for SSI or SSD. However, it also can apply to people who are already beneficiaries, but they go back to work part-time and they're going to be asked about their current work. So we have a few other, I think there's actually a playlist, but I don't really get into work history too often. So I wanted to bring this one up because I was working on it with a client this weekend. And just so you know, we're in the last 1/3 of April 2024. I cannot believe. So this is an individual who came to me after being denied on initial. We were on reconsideration for a bit of time, and we are now heading to hearing in a couple of weeks. Okay. So the work history report that was submitted by this person was done before my time. And we already met on it this weekend on phone. We didn't even do Zoom. Because the vagaries of the work history report she prepared and submitted back in the day don't help her. Now, to what extent a work history description helps or hurts you often depends on your vocational profile, including your age. So you can't really universally say some things about how to do one of these and be as informative as you can as a blanket rule. So I'm going to try to keep this kind of specific. I'm going to try. Because some of it depends on what your current impairments are too, as to what you want to make sure not to forget to explain. So people sometimes just do these very vague, thinking, no news is good news and all that. So when we look at that, and I'll give you a specific here. This kind of job, let's say it's an insurance biller. Person works for a medical office, a big doctor's office, and they have various departments. And, of course, doctors' offices submit claims to the insurance company of the patient. And sometimes they come back with an explanation of benefits that something was denied outright or it wasn't paid for as much as the doctor's office would have liked or that they agree with. So this particular job, amongst other things, and I'm looking for something else here too, entails a lot of phone work. I don't think you need a degree for it or anything like that, but it's a skilled job and you have to be able to really interact with the carrier, the insurance company that didn't pay, that rejected or reduced for some reason. So you have to be, apparently it's like 80% phone work. Walking around the office, a bit of that, maybe like, I think in this particular instance, there's a lot of at least 40 trips to the copy machine a day. So that doesn't strike me as being completely a sedentary job. Sedentary, they say, is sit for 6 hours a day, sitting on your feet up to 2 hours a day. It seems like that would be a heavy 2 hours. It's like doing all those trips to the copy machine. It was a printer/copy machine, getting the letters, stuff in the envelopes, bringing them to the mailroom, blah, blah. Okay. But here's where, when the person described the job as this, followed up on insurance balances due, call insurance companies, print letters and forms. That's the only description of the job, the only one. In this particular instance, if a person has neuropathy in their fingers or their hands now, arthritis, bad arthritis that is documented in the medical records, if they have a hearing issue, maybe tinnitus or hearing loss, uncorrected by hearing aids. Sometimes people can't get hearing aids because they're so bloody expensive, right? it would be important in this job description to include, I mean, printed letters and forms, we do that with a hunt and peck with a finger. That's not really heavy necessarily hand use. But if there is typing and data entry all day, which it turns out was a major part of this job, those hand impairments, you're going to want to make sure it's in there, but data entry all day long, heavy on the data entry, heavy on the data entry. The phone conversations with the insurance carriers for someone who now has hearing loss or tinnitus, heavy phone work, heavy, and probably quick on your feet phone conversations by phone. You have to be able to hear well, and you have to be able to talk and think on your feet pretty fast, presumably. So all of those things need to be in this description for this person, because the fact that the hands are needed, the fingers are needed, and the ears are needed to be working in very frequent order at least, if not constant, really will be important, because that will be what can be used to show that this person can't do that job anymore. And for someone over 50, we need to show, for even everybody else too, you have to show you can't do your prior work. So if you keep it really vague and simple, it's not always going to be the best way to do it. So in this case, because I need it clear that this job was very finger heavy, very phone heavy with hearing and responding, I need that, because those are two of the things that this person is medically impaired with now. Aside from a plethora of other reasons that are actually far more invasive, but you can't hang your hat on the presumption that the SSA is going to find that chronic fatigue, the person can't work 8 hours a day, is going to pan out to not being able to work full time. In fact, they seem to resist that. Chronic fatigue is one of those really, really bad impairments, and we know it to be so, and legally it can't be denied, but I often see them not take any effect on the work schedule with something that subjectively complained about, even if the person has blood markers to a certain extent of something. So you need to go after all those things. So one way you might want to address this, because I know it's hard to think of it from a big picture. When you are doing your function report, your work history report, you're looking at your job, let's say the most recent job. Consider having the body chart up. Now, I have a body chart and I give it to my clients, and they fill it out, every single part that is not as good as it was when they were 20. And we delve into each one. That's how I found out about the hands, by the way, initially. And I said, you best go get your hands checked out. And then we got x-rays and all this other stuff. But you can look at a body chart, fill it out. If anyone wants one, just email me and I could send you the one I have. You can actually click on it and save it. And, you don't have to print it out and handwrite it if you don't want. And then you have it. You'll at least know which body parts. It'll remind you to figure out whether your fingers are troubled. And then look at that and look at your work history report. Like I'm looking at this person's right here, the prior version, and say, did I need my hands for that job? Well, yes, I did. I was holding the phone. I mean, now they have headphones and stuff, but a lot of typing, stuffing the envelopes, filling the copier printer with paper. All that stuff takes hand use. Now, particularly the heavy repetitive data entry would be most major. And then when they see the head on the body chart, well, my ears, because you shouldn't just look at the body parts, but the systems as well. You can also go to, and again, we're talking about doing your work history report, but all these other things can help you. When you're like, what am I supposed to say? I didn't remember that was a body part that was a problem, because that didn't take me out of this job. And it's not the thing that wipes you out of all jobs. But legally it can be the one. So if you look at number 20 on your function report, there's a list there of several items. They come in little columns of different work-related needs, tasks. So go through that also. And if any of those are limited in any way, when I say limited, I mean not as good as you were when you were 20, can consider that when you're answering your work history about this job. You know, when that list says bending, squatting, kneeling, well, did you have to do any of that with this job? This job is going to ask you about that down below. And I think we've talked about that section down below when it asks you how many total hours each day did you walk, stand, sit, climb, stoop, kneel, crouch, crawl, handle, grab, or grasp big objects, reach, or write, type, or handle small objects. I'll get into that in a different video so I can keep this short. But this was really all about that description of the job. So when we redid this, and I'm just waiting after I help someone get all their details in, I send it back to them so they can say whether that's accurate or not. And then we shoot it up, which is what we're going to do. Shoot it up to the SSA or the judge. This was all about getting those details because I know she can't do this job, but you wouldn't know it from her work history report. So that is a really, really critical. I conference with my clients, each and every one of them, on their work history report for those that have a work history, which is, 95%. That's not something that you just do willy-nilly. It's got to be precise. And you have to know which things are going to be most important to include. I mean, you have a small space. You're not going to include so many things because it's all encompassed in that job to begin with, as are the things that I just mentioned by and large. But you'd be surprised because remember when the SSA has to decide if you, hold on one second. Okay, that was a little fire to put out. I'm back. Okay, we're wrapping this up now, guys. These descriptions can be used later to help show you can't do your prior job. So everything that was heavy in terms of any of those body parts, any of those functions on number 20 of your function, any of those implicated in this job, you want to include that they were part of the job. Because again, you're not going to put there's a lot of minutia you're not going to put in, but it's hard to know which ones you should be and which ones you shouldn't be. So hopefully this is helping you a little bit, because amending this work history report is critical because we have to prove, remember when they're looking at your work history, your prior relevant work, it's not just how the job is normally done in the economy. You do have to prove you can't do it, but you also have to prove that you can't do it the way they had you do it there. So it's your job specifically in your place and then how it's generally performed in the economy. Both things you have to prove you can't do to prove you can't do past relevant work. So if your work history report shows this very vague job with very little details, it's more likely you're going to be found that you can do your job the way it was done at your company, and you lose your case at that step. That would be step 4. At least it's like 4A, the job the way you used to do it, and 4B, the job the way it's done in the rest of the economy and all the other companies. You got to prove both. If you fail on either one of those accounts, you lose your case. Okay. All righty. Any questions? Just ask. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.